I'm Bill Crum from News OK and the Oklahoman. I'm here today with Councilman John Pettis, who represents Ward 7 here in Oklahoma City. Welcome.
Thank you, Bill, for having me. And also, I just want to take the time out to thank the staff at the Oklahoman and Kelly Fried and you for allowing me to come on today.
Well, thanks for stopping by the studio. We appreciate it. First things first, you've been on the council now almost 3 years?
Almost 3 years. Can you believe it?
There'll be an election in about, I'd say, a year and 3 months, a year and 4 months. Are you gearing up for a re-election campaign?
You know what? Yes, I am. You know, there's still work to be done, and we're going to get it done. So I do plan on running for a re-election.
Okay. And you are, how old are you now?
I am now 33.
You're 33 years old. So you turned 30 on the council?
I turned 30 a few months prior to me being elected.
Before joining the council? Before
joining the council.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that campaign.
Absolutely.
One of the primary things we wanted to talk about is economic development.
Yes.
in Ward 7, particularly I think in Northeast Oklahoma City, where the focus has been since you've been on the council. We're hearing in association with the developments that are on the drawing board, terms like density,
yes,
transit, mixed use, pedestrian friendly, developments that will better serve the population perhaps than the asphalt parking lots and the strip centers that we're used to in much of Oklahoma City. What's the vision for Northeast Oklahoma City, the Northeast Renaissance? And can you summarize for us where development is going to be occurring?
All right, and you know, when I ran for office, I ran off of the belief that we can do better to improve the lives of everyone who lives in Ward 7, but especially, you know, sometimes the forgotten area of our city, which is Northeast Oklahoma City. Northeast Oklahoma City is the only community in our city that residents have to travel outside of the community just for the basic things in life. When people come into Oklahoma City, they come into Northeast Oklahoma City. They take their kids to the zoo, the Omniplex. They also go to Remington Park. They also go and look at what's happening at the Softball Hall of Fame, where the Women's World Championship takes place, and the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, and also Remington Park. But with all that said, Northeast Oklahoma City for years on top of years lacked true economic development. When we as a city talk about our unemployment rate averages around 3.3%, but you know, taking a closer look at the unemployment rate in Northeast Oklahoma City, at times we find that the unemployment rate is above 15%. Then when you look at the African American male population, the unemployment rate sometimes can be above 35%. So we wanted to do something that really created true opportunities for people who live in Northeast Oklahoma City, where they can have opportunities for jobs, also opportunities to better themselves for educational, but also to shop, because Northeast Oklahoma City should have everything that all the other parts of our city have. So the Northeast Renaissance is simply about bringing true opportunities to the people who live in Northeast Oklahoma City. So we are looking at development that would bridge the community to other things that the community has not been exposed to in a number of years. And so what I am grateful for is the support of the city to bring development to Northeast Oklahoma City. Northeast Renaissance TIF district was approved by the council early part in this year. And so I'm grateful to the council for approving this Renaissance plan. And it's about bringing more multifamily developments into the community. It is about bringing retail into the community. It's also about bringing job opportunities and also better education into Northeast Oklahoma City. You think about the different parts of our city. The southwest side of town has a major higher ed institution, which is Oklahoma City Community College. You look at part of Northwest community. They have Oklahoma City University. And you look at certain portions of Northeast Oklahoma City, of course, we do have the Health Science Center. And so Northeast Oklahoma City, in some ways, when it comes to higher ed, we are lacking. Now, we do have Langston Oklahoma City campus is right there in the heart of Northeast Oklahoma City. But Langston University has a great opportunity in the future to expand and have a bigger footprint on Northeast Oklahoma City. So I think as we talk about economic development, we also have to talk about ways to improve access to higher education. I think Langston University is looking at a bigger footprint in Northeast Oklahoma City, bigger footprint in Oklahoma City. So, you know, we are doing what we can as a city to create true economic development. You know, we have in Northeast Oklahoma City, we have several shopping centers where, yes, the parking lot may be 5 acres and so forth, but we are trying to do more development that would be inclusive, that would include a lot of different things than just having a sea of parking lot and a shopping center. So we are trying to do more things to create that model.
So we're looking at King's Crossing, I think is one of the developments at
Northeast 23rd and Martin Luther King.
On 36.
36 in Kelly, 36 in Spring Lake. The council a few weeks ago approved the redevelopment of the Northeast Shopping Center, which that shopping center currently has a square footage is about a little bit over 96,000. That's the square footage of that particular shopping center, and the total cost of the redevelopment of that shopping center is a little bit close to $11 million, and we are going to put in $2 million of TIF money into that development, which we are very much excited because Northeast Oklahoma City has been a food desert for a number of years. So we have a great opportunity to have another grocery store in Northeast Oklahoma City that will be located in that particular shopping center.
When we talk about a food desert, we mean an area of the city, and this occurs in urban areas around the country where the grocery stores have moved out.
That's correct.
And residents, especially in a city like Oklahoma City where transit is not that great to begin with or not that robust, have to leave their neighborhoods just to get fresh fruits and vegetables.
That's correct. You know, growing up, I live growing up in Northeast Oklahoma City, still live in Northeast Oklahoma City, and I always wondered how come my mother had to travel such a distance just to get access to a full-size grocery store. And you know, a lot of dollars in Northeast Oklahoma City have been going out to other tax jurisdictions. We went to Midwest City for every single thing that we needed. Which meant that not only my family, but thousands of other families who live in Northeast Oklahoma City supported the Midwest City market because that market was the closest market to the neighborhood. But you also have to think about, when we talk about transportation, public transportation, and this transportation in general, sometimes if you do not own a car, it's hard for you to get around. And thousands of people who live in Northeast Oklahoma City lack private vehicles. So they depend on public transportation. So I think as we talk about development, we have to make sure that development happens around public transit system, but we also have to figure out ways to improve and to expand public transportation throughout our city, but especially Northeast Oklahoma City.
The mixed use, the idea of mixed use, if we could paint a picture for the folks who are listening to us today, we're thinking about development that's close to the street.
Yes.
Where you don't have to walk all the way
That's
across
correct.
that parking lot from the bus stop just to get inside the store, much less to shop. And we're talking about collaborative development. Go ahead, education, senior centers, job training centers.
Absolutely. When
residences.
When we talk about mixed-use development, I mean, we are talking about residential, mixing residential and commercial together. We are talking about having some type of form of educational center. We're talking about a medical center. We're talking about mixing all that together and making it a true mix community, and I would love for the Northeast Senior Wellness Center to be located in a mixed use development. Because one of the things that we want to make sure is that the Senior Wellness Center is successful. And I think one of the ways that we make sure that it's successful is that we put the MAPS 3 Senior Wellness Center in a location where it's easy for people to access it, but also to make sure that there are other developments occurring around the development.
It's part of a destination.
Yeah, it's definitely part of a destination.
You can go to the senior center, you can do your shopping, you can stop by the doctor's office if you need to. You find medical services probably in the Senior Health and Wellness Center, and you can get all that stuff done within walking distance.
Within walking distance, you know.
And you might even live there.
And you might even live in there.
You might live upstairs from the CVS or something like that.
That's correct. You look at what municipalities and cities are doing across this country. They are encouraging development to happen that way. You know, Oklahoma City, our square mileage is, 620 square miles. Ward 7 is approximately 136 square miles of our city. So we have things that are spread out. So it's time for us to start doing development where we can increase density. And so that's one of the things I love about mixed-use developments.
Good segue to MAPS.
Yes.
MAPS 3 is building a number of things that are either in Ward 7 or cross Ward 7, as you mentioned to me the other day. I think when I asked about the new convention center site, you said Ward 7.
Ward 7. You know, the current convention center location is in Ward 7, and the proposed convention center is also in Ward 7. You know, I'm all about progress in our city, but I like for things to happen in Ward 7.
And the streetcar, the convention center, and the park are really the three. They cluster together downtown.
Yes.
They're the three crown jewels, if you would, of MAPS 3. They need to work together?
I believe they need to work together because for a long period of time we have spread out our resources across the city, but I think we need to start connecting one public resource to another public resource. You know, so that's one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to connect the convention center to the park. And connect the streetcar to the convention center and start connecting these different things together.
Well, one of the challenges with the new convention center site is that since they moved it, it's several blocks from the streetcar route as it stands right now. So we're looking at running the tracks perhaps down Robinson Avenue, excuse me, past the basketball arena, which is a good thing.
It's in Ward 7.
It's in Ward 7, and you serve people who are attending events at Chesapeake Arena and get to the convention center, but that's not on the route right now. That's something that needs to be worked out. You think that the tracks need to go to the convention center's front door?
You know what? I believe we need to get close as possible to the convention center because when people come in from when the people come in from out of town to conventions, 9 out of 10 they either flew or they took another means of transportation to get here.
Right. They
and
don't
so
have car.
they don't have car. You know, Oklahoma City, if you don't have a car, you really, you know, it's challenging. So that's why I think it's important to get the streetcar as close as possible to the convention center.
The Adventure District and Capitol Hill are two areas that are discussed often as potential destinations for extensions of the streetcar. And running down, if the streetcar ran down Robinson, for instance, toward the convention center, it's begun its route to Capitol Hill. Do you see, or are you an advocate for working toward extending streetcar service in both directions?
Absolutely, the streetcar needs to go in both directions. You know, the Capitol Hill is a area that is definitely historic in our city. But when you look at the Adventure District and what the Adventure District has, to me, it's accent. You cannot in Oklahoma City find anything like what you have over in the Adventure District.
Let's run through that real quickly for folks. The Softball Hall of Fame and the Softball World Series are there. Remington Park is there.
Park.
The Oklahoma City Zoo, which is a huge destination, is out there. The Firefighters Museum.
Firefighters Museum. The Omniplex. The National Cowboy Hall of Fame. So, matter of fact, the number of people who a year attend some type of form of events or go visit in the Adventure District a year is 5 million people. 5 million people. So that's 5 million people that we can get in and out of downtown, but also it's a way
you can connect them to downtown.
You connect.
If you have a streetcar, you can get on the streetcar and you can come downtown and have lunch and then go back out to where you parked your car, for instance. If
that's exactly right.
It creates connections.
And also it opens up transportation to those who live in Northeast Oklahoma City.
Northeast Oklahoma City. it can come downtown.
And it can definitely come downtown where a lot of people who live in Northeast Oklahoma City work. And you think about, we already have the tracks. I mean, we already have pretty much, I would have to say, 95% of the right-of-way for that to occur. There's a small portion.
That's the old Katy?
That's the old Katy. Well, matter of fact, we have the Katy Trail that runs side by side with the tracks. There's a small portion that's under control of UP, but we already have pretty much what it takes to have that. Because, you know, some of the biggest hurdle is having the right-of-way to have a streetcar. I mean, so some of the tracks are already in line, but of course will need to be upgraded. So I've been a strong advocate for the Adventure District line.
Okay. Let's jump to another subject, crime.
Yes.
In Oklahoma City, a couple of things going on right now. I read that the police department is investigating the 81st homicide of the year. At that rate, we're on track to have about 91 or 92 before the end of the year, which is pretty high compared to recent years, or most years, I guess. Crime of a concern?
Crime is definitely a concern. No matter where you live in Oklahoma City, crime is definitely a concern. People want to live where they feel safe. People want to go to work where they feel safe. So, I mean, crime in our city is a something that I definitely care about. But I think as a city, we need to spend more resources in crime prevention. We need to do things that will definitely decrease crime. I'm a strong believer in rehabilitation. Once somebody gets out of prison, well, actually, while they are in prison, they are reformed. Because a lot of times when people get out of jail or prison, they are not reformed. So we have to look at ways before someone gets out, that they are reformed in some type of form or fashion, whether to make sure that they have job training or the skills, education, or so forth. So that's one component. But then we also must do more for alcohol and drug treatment in our city, and also we have to do more when it comes to mental health in our city.
I think you've also been a supporter of trying to reach Chief Bill City's goal of about, I think, 1,130 police officers.
Absolutely. We definitely need, as Oklahoma City continues to grow, we need to grow our public safety. I mean, whether it's more firefighters or more police officers, I think we need to do both. We need to have both, more competent police officers and more competent firefighters.
I think the budget, I know the budget for this year adds about 24 new positions, uniform positions to the police department, but the city manager, as you know, is looking at the budget picture, and it's not looking great. We're in the 2015-16 fiscal year now. Budget work on the 2016-17 budget starts formally, I guess, in February with the budget workshop. What are you hearing from city leadership about how that budget is shaping up and how it might play, how public safety and beefing up public safety might play into the decisions that have to be made?
You know, Oklahoma City is facing critical times. You know, throughout our country, matter of fact, we are facing critical times with oil prices the way oil prices are right now. We know that the state of Oklahoma is a oil and gas state, so we have been in a lot of ways blessed that we are not facing budget deficits like some cities and municipalities across this country. That I've had the pleasure of talking to some of their elected officials. So Oklahoma City, we're not doing as bad as some cities and municipalities, but we need to be concerned about how things are looking statewide, and I think our budget will be more conservative than maybe prior years as we look at our oil and gas prices in the state. And so I think city staff is preparing a budget that will be more conservative than probably last year or maybe the year before last. But I do believe that our economy will change, even though, you know, the state's facing a $1.3 billion deficit. That's basically Oklahoma City's budget. You think about it. So, I mean, we are going to have to take a look at what's happening throughout the state. So we may not be able to add as many law enforcement or firefighters that we would like to this coming up cycle, but we won't know until several months out. But I want to give credit to our city manager and his staff for taking action to look closely what's going on and making sure that we will be prepared for what happens.
There's a hiring freeze that's taking effect.
Yes.
Already earlier this month, the city has sufficient reserves to last for a while.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I like about Oklahoma City is the simple fact that we try to be as prepared as much as possible. A lot of municipalities throughout the country, they do not take those steps, and I think our reserves are pretty nice compared to some cities. I mean, we have not had the we have not had to face the struggles as most cities across the country. You look at what happened in Detroit. You look at what's happening in places like Chicago and other places where their city budget is absolutely not contained, not controlled, but we are able to kind of control what's happening. And so I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. You see the benefits of some conservative approaches to budgeting. MAPS is pay as you go.
Pay as you go. Some cities, they don't believe in pay as you go.
They believe in borrow and build.
Right, and I'm definitely grateful to our forefathers for seeing that we do not take that approach, that we pay as you go.
And I think there was just a group here a week or two ago from Jacksonville, Florida, came through to see the city and see something about the successes that Oklahoma City has had the past 20 years. And one of the things that we're looking at was MAPS and this pay-as-you-go model.
And you know, it's not just cities that are in Florida. I mean, cities across this country is looking at Oklahoma City as the model, and which is a great thing. You know, it's definitely great for other cities, other municipalities to look at your city to see what is working. I think our process pay as you go, the MAPS, has been outstanding, and there's accountability with the whole MAPS model.
Mm-hmm. Voter approved every
Voter
time around.
approved.
Let's swing back to Black Lives Matter for a minute. You mentioned that you had been down to the protests outside the courthouse yesterday.
Yes.
Outside the Holtzclaw trial. He is a former police officer who's accused of a number of sexual assaults. I think primarily in Northeast Oklahoma City and Ward 7. The Oklahoma City Police Department fired him after an internal investigation. The Oklahoma City Police Department has, I think, won some praise from you and others for its relationship to the communities within the city. Tell me a little bit about that and how the Oklahoma City Police Department is doing with regard to its relationship with the black community and Black Lives Matter.
Okay, and I'm definitely glad that you brought up that point. All across the country, municipalities, their police departments are facing critical times as we talk about Black Lives Matters, because Black lives do matter. Years on top of years, people who live in African American communities have felt that municipalities, not only municipalities, but government don't care about Black lives. And so, as we look at what happened dealing with former officer Daniel Holtzclaw, was definitely disturbing. Here was somebody who was a police officer with Oklahoma City Police Department who, to police accounts and victims' accounts, did some things that was totally wrong. No doubt about it, totally wrong. From the police accounts and the victims' accounts, here is a former officer who took advantage of 13 black women who lived in the Northeast Oklahoma City. As I look at the map of where the crimes happened, according to the police and according to the victims, it happened in Northeast Oklahoma City. One of the places that happened in the neighborhood that I live in. Unlike some other cities' police departments, once the police department became aware of fully what was going on, they took actions. I want to publicly thank the detectives who worked that case. I had the opportunity to be inside the trial on Monday, and I had the chance to hear from one of the detectives. I think our Oklahoma City Police Department did an outstanding job throughout this whole process. As we talk about the victims, here the majority of the victims had a past. Whether it was prostitution or drug use, they had a past. And according to the police department's accounts, and according to the victims' accounts, the former officer took advantage of that. I've been having trouble kind of putting away my emotions dealing with this case. Because the women, because they were African American, could have easily been my mother. Because they was African American, they easily could have been my sister. So it saddens me that, you know, of what, according to the police accounts, or the victims' accounts, what occurred. But our police department took the necessary steps and did a full-fledged investigation, which was enough for charges to be pressed and for a trial to be happening now. I am concerned that in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma County, that the jury base does not at all represent the makeup of our city, nor does the jury fully represent the makeup of Oklahoma County. It bothers me. I sat in that courtroom on Monday, and to look at the jury, to see majority men serving on the jury, it did bother me. I can't say that it didn't. It did. No diversity.
Okay, I haven't seen the jury. Most of our viewers
and
haven't.
most of them haven't. Most of them are. Matter of fact, all of them are white men.
Okay, 12.
There are maybe, on the top of my head, maybe either 7 or 8. And then the rest are female. So,
okay.
So you know, I worry, and I think the officers, the former officer, he has a great attorney, one of the best defense attorneys in the state. But my hat goes off to the Oklahoma City Police Department that they took action, you know, and they did a full-fledged investigation, and which was enough for charges to be filed and a trial to be had. And also, I have to give credit to the City Council for not paying the former officers' attorney bills. And I also have to give credit to FOP for not paying for the former officers' attorney bills. So I think in a lot of ways Oklahoma City does things a little bit different. I do pray that justice will be blind, that the jury will be blind, and that they will look at all the evidence in the case, and like I said, sitting in and listening to the detectives. I think Oklahoma City Police Department did an outstanding job, and I think Chief City and the department as a whole wants to build a better relationship with the minority community, and they are doing things to try to build that gap. But we must look at what has happened historically when we talk about police. You know, back in the 50s and the 60s, the police was used to intimidate African Americans. I mean, we cannot ignore history. But here we are, 2015, and I believe that our police department is working to try to change that. I'm proud to say that Oklahoma City, we had our first black police chief. Other cities our size, they cannot say that. And I think Chief City and his staff are working to have a more diverse police department.
And of course, the first black police chief in Oklahoma City was M.T. Berry.
M.T. Berry, who's now the assistant city manager.
He's an assistant city manager now, one of the top administrators in the entire city. Chief City himself has been police chief for about 12 years.
Yes.
And has been with the department, I think, 38. And and you were there, just dedicated a new administration building downtown.
Yes.
Very good. Well, we've been with Councilman John Pettis, represents Ward 7 in Oklahoma City. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Bill Crum for News OK and the Oklahoman. Thanks for joining us for this interview.